Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable guests. The event's second Maritime Economics and Business International Conference will begin soon. But first, there are few things that we need to inform to you related to rules of this conference. For individual who brings phone or gadgets, please setting into vibration or silent mode during this event. While to all of you who join virtually or online, we kindly ask you to turn off the microphone and turn on the camera. This is for your consideration and thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? Beriring malam dengan merbah, merbah bersarang di pokok buluh. Beriring salam dengan sembah, sembah kami jari 10. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Trans Convention Center Tanjung Pinang. The second Maritime Economics and Business International Conference organized by Faculty of Maritime Economics and Business, Raja Ali Haji Maritime University. It's been great honor for me, Titania Anggriani, as Master of Ceremony, to standing here and welcome everyone in Tanjung Pinang. This meeting will provide you the opportunities to discuss, share, and gain knowledge. Before we proceed the program today, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Director of Raja Ali Haji Maritime University, Profesor Agung Damar Shakti, DEA, the Dean of Faculty of Maritime Economics and Business, Dr. Asmaul Husna, the Chairperson of the MEBIC 2023, Indra Firdiansa, MSI, the keynote speakers today, Profesor Arif Ansori Yusuf from University of Pajajaran, Dr. Lulu Muhimatul Ifada from University of Islam Sultan Agung, Profesor Muhammad Kabir Hasan PhD from University of New Orleans, and all participants. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to present to you a song performance by Dean of Faculty of Maritime Economics and Business. Please welcome. Please give applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Menerima bahtera merdeka, putra putri sayang, putra putri sayang sedang berjuang. Fajar telah tiba meningsi sujud bakti untuk menunaikan sumpah dan janji. Thank you.
Please give round applause for the Dean of Faculty of Maritime Economics and Business. Honorable distinguished speaker, participants, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the main session today with our keynote speakers. And this session will be moderated by Mr. Andri Wanto, PhD. For Mr. Andri Wanto, PhD, time and place is yours.
Hi, good morning everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shall I sit down or stand up? Okay, I think I'd better just sit here. This is really great honor for me to be here, to be surrounded by all the scholars, I would say is that I'm surrounded by the eminent or preeminent a scholar in their field. So this is really thrill for me to be around you here. And today I'm going to be the host of this conference. And at first, I think as I should introduce myself first. My name is Adriwanto. I did my PhD in Germany, political anthropology. I just defended my dissertation a couple of months ago. And now, currently I'm working for Eurasia Group, based in US, New York. I just come back from Japan yesterday. I'm just still a little bit jet lagged. Okay, this is really a great honor. We are going to start this event today with invite our keynote speakers, namely Professor Arif Ansori Yusuf. But rather unfortunately that he cannot make it to come with us today. But I get information that he's going to give a speech and it's recorded. And we are going to listen all of his, share his knowledge with us today. So in case after the event, after his lecture today, you have any question, you have any doubt or anything that you want to discuss with him you can send an email and write it down or give it to me and we can discuss with him directly. So I think for start, we are gonna listen or we are gonna watch his speech today for Professor Arif Ansari Yusuf from Pajajaran University. So how does it work? So is it recorded or? Okay, shall we start? Shall we?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Arif Ansori Yusuf. Currently, I'm professor of economics in the Department of Economics at Pajajaran University. It's an honor for me to give one of the keynote speech at this second Maritime Economics and Business International Conference held by the Faculty of Economy, University of Marine Raja Ali Haji in Tanjung Pinang. I wish I can be there, but since so many circumstances that I cannot avoid, so I have the excuse not to be present with you all. But again, congratulate to Faculty of Economy, University of Marine Raja Ali Haji on holding this conference because the topic of the conference is very much strategic and important in the coming futures of our country and in the global world. Anyway, so the topic is about green economy. So first of all, let me introduce to you to one of the seminal publication in 2011 that, if I may recall, the first publication that has title called Green Economy. This is quite influential publication by UNEP. In that publication, basically, they define that the green economy is one that results in improved human well-being and social equity while significantly reducing environmental risk and ecological diversity. Two things I would like to emphasize here. The green economy, the subject of the terminology or the term is economy because it's an English word, okay? English phrase. Yeah? So green economy is an economy. So that's why they said one. One is economy. And we should understand that the economy here is the economy, the word economy ending with the letter Y, economy, which if it's translated to Indonesian language, it becomes economic system or perekonomian in a way. So it's an economic system. Yeah? People talk about the green economics. It's a science of economy that discuss about environmental issues, for example. But this one is a green economy. It means economic system that is green. Okay. So and we look at again the definitions of this. You can see that actually green economy is not only about environment but also about social aspect. So there are three pillars in a green economy. In green economy, economic pillar of course, environmental pillar and social pillar. So I may summarize this with this diagram. So if you have three pillar of green economy, yeah, you have economy here, and then you have social there, and then you have environment here. So I may represent this with a 4-quadrant diagram like that. So here, let me click this. Okay, so here you have economy represented by GDP per capita. So moving from left to right along this axis means economic growth, right? And since this is the 45-degree line, so moving from bottom from this to toward here, that's also the same thing. But if you move from along horizontal vertical axis here to the top, that is about social aspect. And one of the indicator that many people use to represent it, among others, is equity or equality. Yet here there is an environmental aspect. So the environmental aspect. So it is the quality of the environment. So if one country is in these positions, okay, so if they want to grow, yeah, then we can also notice what happened to the social and environmental aspect. Let's have a look from the social perspective first. Here, you can see there. So there is a hypothesis or paradigm that say that if you want to grow, at first you cannot avoid to have declining equality. Yeah. And this is what we call Kuznet Curve, first coined by Simon Kuznet in 1955. But so the idea is that there is a trade-off, at least at the beginning, when you want, if you're a developing country, that basically you are at the beginning, at the initial level. Right? So there is a trade-off, at least during the early phase of development, that when you want to grow, you have to sacrifice your social equality. And in around 1991, these two gentlemen, Grossman and Kruger, in 1991, adopt almost similar principle to the environment aspect, which actually say that for the environment too, that when you want to grow, then you have to face the consequences that you cannot avoid, that you have to accept some certain level of deteriorating environmental quality, and that they call it environmental Kuznet Curve. So if we are in developing country or we are in developing world, so we are faced with this trade-off. If we want to grow, then we have to sacrifice social aspect, and we have to sacrifice environmental aspects. This is the paradigm. But let me tell you that this paradigm is obsolete. Okay, so let's focus more on the environmental aspects. But before we criticize this, let me give to you the rationale of their arguments, right? So they argue that we cannot avoid the trade-off because of certain reason. First, for example, is to develop, you need to industrialize. And when you do industrialization, you cannot avoid, you have to pollute the environment because of the emission and things and energy you need. And then when you develop, there will be more urbanizations. People go to cities and things like that. And they will pollute the cities, congestion, traffic, and so on. Okay? And also the idea that the environment is a luxury also exists. The idea is exists among people, among policymakers, among intellectuals. Okay? And of course, because of the resource constraint and resource, we have normally developing country, many developing countries lack of institutions. So in that case, we are lacking of we are also lacking regulations, lack of resources. Another one that is also common is what they call in historical fairness. So developing country thinks because rich country indeed did pollute first when they were developing. So our developing country today has exactly the same right, let's say, to pollute or to destroy environment. So that's why the idea come from. I'm sure there are many other reasons, but this is just an example of that rationale. Now let me give you some alternative rationale, which arguably not necessarily supporting this argument. Okay, so it means that, but if we stick to the old paradigm like that, so the only pathway for this country to develop is they have to deteriorate their social cohesion, or inequality has to rise, or environmental quality has to be deteriorating. So this is the path that the country cannot afford. Okay, so it's far from the concept of green economy. Yeah. So, but let me first argue that those argument is actually not really in fashion anymore. The first is, for example, the idea of natural resource curse. First, coined in the publication by Jeffrey Sachs and Warner, basically say that, empirically speaking, countries that are dependent on natural resource, generally they are growing slower, or some of them they are not growing at all. So economic growth is slower in a country that are dependent on natural resource. So if countries tend to stick to the dependency on natural resource, which is actually not green growth, not green economy, then they will tend to grow less rapid. Okay, so this is of course an argument against that. So if you want to develop, right? If you want to be high income country, if you want to be developed country, you have to have a sustained high economic growth. Okay, but this is the paradox. If you depend too much on natural resource, then you won't have that high sustained growth to support your vision, to support your aspiration to become a high income country. And why is that the case? There are so many examples why it's the case, or so many arguments. First is revenue volatility. If your commodity price are volatile, I can give you example later with the case of, let's say, East Kalimantan in Indonesia. And also enclave effect. Enclave effect is normally developed country. Normally mining. The way they produce the extraction activity, the way they do extraction, they tend to center around certain area, yeah. But the area outside that activity simply is not affected at all. So there's not much benefit going from the center of the mining activities to the periphery of the mining activities. Okay, so that's enclave effect, and then there are many others, but that's one of the. But the other one is conflict. If too many resources, too many natural resources, people are struggling on, they tend to have more conflict, and conflict is not good for the stability of the country for the stability of economic activity. Okay, so this is the example of the volatility. And here's the picture, the trend of the Indonesian per capita income, which is the blue one, okay, and the per capita income of other two provinces. First is Jakarta. Jakarta is the gray one, you can see here. It keep increasing until the COVID crisis, and then East Kalimantan is the yellow one. Sorry, the brown one. You can see here, starting from around mid 2000, when there are commodity boom, the price of energy rise quite a lot. There are rapid increase in the per capita income of East Kalimantan. Even in around 2011, the hike, the peak of the commodity boom, in East Kalimantan per capita income is higher than Jakarta. But when the boom ends, it suddenly collapse and it returned to it 10 years, previous 10 years, like 10, it's like 10 years before collapse. Okay, and we can see the fluctuations of the energy price. You can see that it correlates quite a lot. It has high correlations between East Kalimantan economic growth and the per capita income. Okay, so the economy of country or region that is strongly based on natural resource are at the mercy of the international commodity price that is normally or typically very volatile. Okay. Now, about enclave economy. So I created what I call enclave economy measure. So enclave economy measure is the ratio or the gap between expenditure per capita measured by household surveys, okay, and GRDP per capita. The two are inherently different. Okay, household expenditure is estimated by statistician going to the house of people live in that region, okay, and ask how they spend their income, okay, how much is they spending. But GRDP per capita, they don't go to the household where they live, where the people live in that region, but they get to activity or production activity, to factory, to shops, okay, to restaurant, things like that. So they calculate the economic activity of that, the income generated from that activity, okay. So the difference is the income generated from mining activity, for example, if using GRDP per capita, the money may not necessarily be owned by the people who live in that region. So the coal mining in Kalimantan, the income from that activity maybe go somewhere else. Okay, so those two will be different. So the correct one to measure the welfare of the people who live in the region is the expenditures, not GRDP per capita. Okay, so as you can see here, I just look at the first picture. So this is say that the more the point is to the right. Okay, so the bigger the difference between GDP per capita and the expenditure, and we can see that many of the natural resource dependent region or district are outliers. Okay, and the next picture is the relationship between the share of mining in GRDP and the EEM measure. So the higher the share of mining in GRDP, the bigger the gap between the GRDP and the expenditure. So it means the higher the share of the mining in GDP, the higher the chance of having an enclave economy. Okay, so if we care about the welfare, the real welfare of the people who live in one economy, so too much dependent on natural resource is actually not a good idea. Another one is that if you think very carefully, I did it almost every semester to my students. I ask them what do they think that value the most to them. List 5 of them, and almost the same result. Most of the thing that people value actually they don't have market price, so you cannot buy in our farmer. Things like peace, security, the air we breathe, clean river, justice, not congestion road, climate regulation, flood protection, etc., etc. They are the things that many people values, but they don't have market price. And what is important because the economy, the global economy and Indonesian economy and most of economy in this world is governed by the market price system. Okay, and that market price system has a certain algorithm that is very simple. So if you have higher market price, you allocate resource more. If you have lower market price, you allocate resource less. Okay, so if you don't have market price, such as things like this. Okay, so the algorithm of capitalism is simple, no allocation. That's where the trouble comes. Okay, so for example, if in the city near my town, Garut, so recently in 2016 there is a flash flood killing 24 people, and the reason because what happened is in the upstream, they cut the trees that normally protect them from the flash flood and grow vegetables, and this is a normal response of the market economy. So the ecosystem service provided by the forest doesn't have market price, but carrots, vegetables has market price. Okay, but is there value to the ecosystem protection like this? Yes. What are their values? The value of the life loss. Okay, so what is the price of the upstream ecosystem that regulate flood in Jakarta? No agent, no price. Okay, so what's the value? The trillion rupiah of economic loss that could have been avoided if there is no flood. Okay, in Indonesia also, deforestation is still happening quite a lot. Yeah, this is from the year 2010 to 2015, for example. You can see here the deforestation in Indonesia is second highest still to Brazil in terms of the area loss. So it's still happening. Okay. You have to remember that the forest has a lot of functions, not only from economic point of view. Okay? If you can see here, for example, forest has provided many ecosystem services to people, not only in the neighboring forest region, but also to the global community. Forest has provisioning services, supporting services, has cultural services, and regulating services. Okay, and if you can see here in the map of the left picture, you can see that the red are forests that has the highest ecosystem service values, and many of them located in Indonesia, as you can see from here pictures. And Professor Bob Costanza, a professor who is well known for his authority in calculating ecosystem services, calculated for Indonesia when I invited him to go to Jakarta to give a seminar. And you can see here, for example, according to his calculation, that the tropical forest alone in Indonesia give a service of $450 billion, where Indonesian GDP is 550 billion. So almost the same value as Indonesian GDP. That's from the forest ecosystem service alone. So if you sum all over the ecosystem service provided not only from forest but from many other type of ecosystem service, he concluded that the ecosystem service is provided to Indonesian economy, Indonesian people, is actually 3 times the GDP every year. Okay, and also the other issue that is now recently actually in the public debate, especially in Jakarta, is the pollution. Indonesian pollution is, according to this data, the World Air Quality Report, by the IQ Air, we can see here from I got it from these publications. You can see that Indonesia is the most polluted country in Southeast Asia, and I'm not surprised, because in my city alone, not only pollution that is problem, but also congestions. And congestion is, of course, correlated with pollution, right? So here the study of ADB compares cities in Indonesia. Actually, my city, Bandung, is the most polluted in Indonesia. And in Indonesia, in Bandung, there is a traffic light that people consider the longest stop, 12 minutes. I did a research in America, the longest traffic light people stop is 6 minutes. So people in Indonesia, in Bandung, actually, they even can have breakfast while waiting for the traffic light to turn into green. Come to Bandung, you will see. Now let me discuss more about what to do. So I think, if you can see that many of the government policy or reactions towards certain environmental problem, like the one recently in Jakarta, pollution, is more of a reaction, not coming from a structure, visionary plan, regulations. Okay, so that's not good, because environmental problem is a long run problem. So you have to plan it, you have to regulate in a structured way, and a roadmap or planning. First of all, I think we have to be based by correct paradigm. Okay, the paradigm that people use or we use is no longer relevant. Like environmental Kuznet curve, I think that's no longer relevant, because the economics, the science, the knowledge, the theory has changed. And if you learn about the recent advance in economic development theory and empirics, you can see how obsolete those paradigms. So first of all, I think we have to have a paradigm shift. So we have to transform conventional development program. First of all, there's not necessarily be a trade-off between economy and environment. Many countries actually adopt green economy out of necessity. Look at Korea. Look at China, for example. China has decoupled their pollutions much faster than OECD countries when they almost at the same stage of development. Okay. Another paradigm that also we have to start start living them is that GDP actually is not the only objective. I know many people know that GDP is not only there are many weaknesses in GDP, but still I can still see that there are many people still obsessed with GDP, and because they have their attention is limited, so when they too much focus on GDP, they will tend to neglect other measure. Okay, so growth obsession like this has to be getting rid of soon. And then another paradigm that we need to change is that sometimes people think that if we invest in social protection, if we invest in environmental protection, they see them as a cost. Yet they are not. Okay, we have to see them as investment for future growth. Okay, for both social investment and environmental investment. And then also market price is not the same as values. Okay, so we have to start looking at more deeply into values that is not visible to the market price, to the market eyes. Okay, so that also need to be looked at. And lastly, but not least, is that most of the environmental problem coming from the failure of the market. And the only solution to the failure of the market is to giving state more role. But the state that is given more role has to be not a weak state in terms of budget, in terms of the capacity, both human capital capacity or technological capacity or infrastructure capacity. So we need to empower the state so that we can give them moral to regulate, to give policy that is friendly to the environment, to the green economy. Strategy number 2 is that we are living in a democracy. If we do some kind of reform, many reform, there are some win, there are some lose. If that lose, people who lose from the environmental policy, for example, they have strong lobbies, even though they are not the majority, people try to block reform. So we have to put effort to create a strategy that can make sure that the reform that we implement has a strong chance of being implemented, not to be blocked by certain lobby group or certain interest group. How to do that? Well, we should learn from the textbook of political economy, but some of them I outline here. For example, first you have to understand, have to map the distributional effect of the reform. Secondly, maybe you have to do it gradually. Okay, but definitely you need legislation and public support. Strategy number 3 is we are living. I think this is related to the first one, to the previous one. We are living in a democracy now in many countries too, not only in Indonesia. In a democracy, we don't have a luxury of being in Singapore, yeah, or even China that has a little bit authoritarianism that can make regulation more effective. In Indonesia, we don't have that luxuries. So reform will take more time. So because of this constrained domestic policy space. So we have to find a strategy to be able to contain this challenge. Certain policy agenda that I think we should be prioritizing. First is we have to increase tax ratio because our tax ratio is still low and declining. But tax ratio is important. We have to more rely on direct tax rather than indirect tax because that's how modern economy was financed, to do social protection, to do environmental protection. And then also we have to have a roadmap outlining how are we going to spend the increasing fiscal space. So I do hope that we have to agree that those extra revenue that will be gained from increasing tax ratio should be given to more social and environmentally progressive agenda. And then of course, we have to be strategic in international partnership. And this is the last thing that I want to talk to you about. So because there is a certain area where international partnership actually can be beneficial to both sides, both foreign countries or developed country, the global north, and Indonesia, the global south, and also environment. So I give you some example. So I'm lucky enough to be part of this blueprint that was written under the auspice of Ministry of the 3 ministry I think here, Ministry of Education and Bappenas, and also as a Ministry of Manpower, not manpower, sorry, Ministry of Civil Apparatus. So in that publication, we identify 8 grand challenges, as you can see here in the pictures. For Indonesia to become high-income countries, we have these 8 challenges, starting from the low social mobility to institutional quality, and so on. You can see here, and then to be able to face the challenge, then we need to have missions. And this in the circle is mission. And then I put, for the purpose of this presentation, I signed some mission that I think the pillar of social, the pillar of economic, and the pillar of environment will not necessarily be incompatible. Yeah. For example, the challenge of urbanization. Okay. So we, for example, can have a mission to provide public transportation that is green, or public transport, let's say, in short. Okay. So if we ask developed country to help us to develop mass public transportation, let's say Germany, for example, help us to develop, help us finance, help us technology transfer to develop a low ride LRT in Bandung, for example. And if that happens, that will first will reduce, will increase the economic efficiency of the Bandung city, and that is economic aspect, right? Because people are more productive because they are not necessarily spend their time too much in the road and the road. The second one, it will ease the burden of the poor because the poor doesn't need to pay petrol and things like that. So that's social aspect. And of course, because less motorcycle on the road means less emission, carbon dioxide emission. And that's what the global north wants, right? That's what we want to. Okay. So there are many areas, and there's not only one area. There are all of this area I mark here. They are basically the area where the three pillar of the green economy won't be incompatible, and we can also ask international partnership to do that. Okay, so that end my presentation. Again, I congratulate the Faculty of Economy of the University of Maritime Raja Ali Haji to have me in this conference. Lastly, I wish you all have a good conference, and thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
talk in the front of us. So, Dr. Lulu Muhaimatul Ifada, time is yours. Floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Robi sebelum pasti ambil waktu ini kau ini mencintai
Dr. Lulu, I'm sorry. We can't really hear you. It's not very clear. We can't really hear you.
Can hear you. Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, it's better now.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, get started. We would like to passion about is I would congratulations or frequency of for holding
Excuse me, Dr. Lulu, if possible to put your mics closer.
I will try. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, it's a lot better now.
Ya, alhamdulillah. Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I will probably add a little bit because previously Prof. Arif Ansori has already explained many insightful material. We can see. Okay. Quran, Surah Ar, verse 41, we can see the damage that occur on the earth is caused by human intervention. This is mentioned in the Quran as Allah says, corruption has spread on land. Okay, so sorry, maybe I will share to my presentation. Okay, can you see it? Okay. We start that here we can see the damage that occur on the earth is caused by human intervention. This is mentioned in the Quran as Allah says, Quran Surah Arum, verse 41. Corruption has spread on land and sea as a result of what people's hands have done, so that Allah may cause them to taste the consequence of some of their deeds and perhaps they might return to the right path. In understanding the relationship between human and living things, there are two things that we must understand. The first is istifadah, namely taking benefit. The second, al-muhadaza, it is to maintain and preserve. That is, we take advantage of nature, but must maintain and preserve it. Okay. Next. We can beginning of the phenomenon of the abundance pollution due to industry, which has increased yearly, has become a trending topic for environmentalists in Indonesia and developing countries in general. The main cause is influenced by the lack of sensitivity of companies and human to environmental sustainability, and many damage problems on land, air, and sea due to human activities, including industrial companies. Another phenomena is the burning of fossil fuels is the main cause of climate change, which is already having a devastating impact on the planet. Burning fossil fuels also release pollutant in the air, which can cause respiratory and other health problems. The condition of the earth, which is getting warmer and the air temperature is increasingly cause global warming. One of United Nations intergovernmental bodies responsible for increasing knowledge of human-caused climate change, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, predict that the global temperature will rise by 2 degrees Celsius per decade over the next 2 decades. The impact felt from global warming are increasing temperature and increasing seawater levels and melting snow. In addition, severe climate disruption and a global population surge can increase emission and excess consumption of natural resources. Disposal of liquid waste that cause pollution of the sea and the environment as a whole, damage to vegetation due to toxic chemical, deforestation that disturb animal habitat and other environmental pollution. This is the phenomenon we face. At the pollution data in Jakarta, especially in capital city of Indonesia and other countries, Jakarta has the worst air pollution in Southeast Asia and is ranked 10th in the world. Indonesia is ranked first in the country with the highest pollution in Southeast Asia based on in 2022 World Air Quality Report. It can be seen, although from this data, air pollution also occurs in developing countries. These are revolutionary programs regarding the green economy in developed countries. Next, in developed countries are generally at the forefront of the transition toward a green economy. Developed countries have invested heavily in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable transportation. Imagine the benefit if the country of the world move together toward a green economy and sustainability. Do you think that is possible? I think that is possible. For example, London Underground and High Speed 2 in England, which is a rapid transit system. The Underground is electric, so it is low carbon transportation. Next, Copenhagen Bike Superhighway is a bike path connection Copenhagen, Denmark to the city's outskirts, thus making it easier and safer for people to cycle and helping to reduce traffic jam and air pollution. Next, Master City project is a sustainable city under construction in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Master City is designed to be car-free and will rely on renewable energy source for its electricity generation. And leadership in energy and environmental design program. An environmentally friendly building certification program used in more than 160 countries. The program evaluates building based on environmental performance and award points for energy efficiency, water conservation, and material selection. Okay, from this example, we can be seen that green investment is high in developed countries compared to developing countries. In the research I have done, public companies in Indonesia with environmental budget, or we call it environmental accounting cost, of less than 1%. It came to the same conclusion when expand to emerging market public companies through Asia Pacific, only 0.673%. In the term in Bloomberg data classify the country market into emerging market and developing market. Emerging market like Indonesia, Malaysia, and developing market like Singapore and so on. This means that very few public companies in emerging market, include Indonesia, allocated environmental accounting costs because emerging markets are far left behind in the developing market in environmental management. The proportion of public companies that have environmental accounting costs in developed market is 5 times higher than in emerging market. The environmental accounting costs are, among others, used for the cost of environmental improvement, pollution prevention, environmental R&D, implementation of environmental management system, and so on. Next. Okay. To overcome environmental problem, it is necessary to incorporate a green strategy into company activity or state governance to end its life. Next, how to align green strategy with sustainability. Environmental strategies are built with the assumption that developing these strategies encourage companies to be sustainable. So, paying attention to environmental problem is becoming increasingly important for all companies in all industry and all elements of society. Sustainability is a business approach to creating long-term value by considering how an organization operates in an ecological, social, and economic environment. Next. Okay, green economy in Indonesia. Indonesia also participates in making green economy priority in development commitment. In 2020, Indonesia committed to reducing greenhouse gas emission by 29% by 2030 or 41% with international support. Indonesia has also set a target to achieve net zero emission by 2060. To achieve this target, Indonesia is investing in renewable energy and energy efficiency measures, as well as developing carbon market to help business reduce their emission. Next, the green economy is one of the factors that can improve human living conditions and social justice, and can significantly reduce environmental risk and scarcity of environmental resources. According to the United Nations Environment Program, green economy means low carbon economic activity, saving resources, and social inclusive. Okay. For green economy goals, in its implementation, the green economy also have several goals. The specific objective of the green economy are create an Indonesian economy that does not produce carbon emission and it's economical in using resources. Next, implementing a green economy is an effort to realize the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, we call it. Green economic activities also minimize the use of natural resources. A green economy is an important step toward tackling climate change and other environmental problems, and is expected to create jobs and promote economic growth. Okay. Sustainable development concept. The green economy concept has become a paradigm for sustainable development, which is important in overcoming climate change and environmental degradation impacts. The goal of sustainable development is to improve the welfare of the community, so that development must be based on the concept of sustainable development, namely development that has the principle of meeting present needs without compromising meeting the need of future generation. The concept of sustainable development is built on three main pillars: environmental, economy, and social. In the other word, the three pillars of sustainability known as triple P: profit, people, and planet. Profit represent the economy, people represent social, and planet represent the environment. Okay, next, what can we contribute? There is a green economy initiative. It is a series of strategies and policies that encourage sustainable economic development, reduce environmental degradation, and create environmentally friendly jobs. Green economic initiative can take the form of the first is renewable energy project. Several governments have invested in renewable energy projects such as wind, solar power, and hydropower to create new jobs and reduce greenhouse gas emission. For example, the United States has the Green Jobs, Green New York program, which aims to retrofit 1 million homes nationwide to improve energy efficiency. The second, circular economy initiative. Several companies have implemented circular economy initiative to minimize waste by recycling and reusing resources. For example, in Singapore, in Zero Waste Master Plan was launched to encourage the implementation of circular economy practiced by business and consumers. The third, sustainable agriculture. Several countries have launched initiatives to promote sustainable agriculture, reduce food waste, and increase the efficiency of food supply chains. In India, a no-budget natural farming program has been implemented to promote natural farming practice and reduce the use of chemical fertilizer. Then, environmental friendly transportation initiative. Several cities have implemented environmentally friendly transportation initiative. In Indonesia, there is already a lot of cycling infrastructure, pedestrian path on the route, and car-free zone or car-free days. But although not all exist. In Paris, the city government launched the 15-minute city initiative to create an environmental where residents can access their daily needs within 15-minute walk or bike ride. And the fifth, green industries. Several businesses have shifted to low carbon and sustainable business models, like in Sweden, clothing brands maybe H&M launched a new circular business model called Take Care, which encourages customers to repair, reuse, and recycle their clothes instead of buying new ones. Okay, and 6 is carbon emission disclosure. 7, carbon credit and carbon offset. Economic initiative demonstrate the potential for sustainable economic development and job creation and can contribute to poverty reduction and resilience and sustainable development. Next, circular economy. Maybe I want to skip and then example of circular economy practice and initiative. A part of example of circular economy practice that we often hear about, such as the 3R, reduce, reuse, and what else maybe? Recycle or recycling. The first, recycling is a common practice in the circular economy. Some example of other circular economy practices and initiatives include upcycling, extended producer responsibility, product as a services, closed loop supply chains, sharing economy. Next, sustainable agriculture and food system. Some innovative practices, integrated pest management, and so on, vertical farming. The next, environmentally friendly infrastructure transportation. Okay, I will skip this slide, and then green jobs and skill. Green job and skill. I skip this slide, and last, environmentally friendly technology and innovation. Green technology is the development and use of product, process, and services that help conserve resource and reduce pollution, like solar energy, wind energy, and so on. Okay, I will focus in the sustainable finance and investment. Sustainable finance and investment are the process of directing capital to project and activity that possible impact the environment and society. There are different types of sustainable finance and investment initiative. Green bond and sustainable impact bond. These are bond issues to finance projects that positively impact the environment, such as renewable energy project or energy efficiency project. For example, green sustainability bond. And last, sustainable loan. These are loans given to business or individual who are committed to sustainability. In research that I have concluded on the scale of emerging market companies through Asia Pacific, including China, which already have a green credit. My researchers show that the higher the leverage on the company will increase the pressure from creditors, which will increase investment in environmentally oriented companies. This is proven by the green credit that applies to most samples. The longer the companies focus on the environment, the more it will increase the allocation of environmental costs to the companies compared to the previous year. So that the focus on the environment increase. It is expected to contribute to providing input on more detailed regulatory policies regarding environmental management regulation for companies and creditors. In China, since the enactment of the Green Credit Guideline policy, financial institutions have significantly pressured the companies with a proportion of long-term debt to reduce pollution on the ground of risk averse and total credit constraint. Creditors may refrain from lending to a company based on the company's disclosed environmental profile, either for social responsibility consideration or to avoid potential lender liability and reputational risk. China enforced a green credit guidelines policy in which banks and other financial institutions use financial means to strictly control the credit approval process, especially for heavily pollutant companies. This guarantee that the bank can increase control over companies that have credit, especially in implementing corporate green development. The implementation of green credit guidelines policy in China and strict credit control from banks shows that there are a mechanism for companies to pay more attention to environmental risk. Banks can effectively control companies in environmental practice through the credit they provide. Thus, the relevant authorities in emerging market need to recommend green credit to companies to monitor environmental information disclosure. Sustainable finance and investment can play an important role in green economy by directing capital to project and activities that positively impact the government and society. Sustainable finance and investment can help accelerate the transition to a low carbon, climate resilient economy. Okay, next. Carbon emission disclosure. Business activity, especially the use of fossil fuels, change in land use and forest fire result in greenhouse gas. Hereafter, using term carbon emission, greenhouse gas is carbon emission. This prompted world government, including Indonesia, issue regulation so that all business actor or companies publicity report information on carbon emission in the form of emission disclosure contained in the sustainability report. In the report, which is often called carbon emission disclosure, which is part of carbon accounting, where companies measure, acknowledgement, record, present, and disclose carbon emission. Several company sectors report high carbon emission. Some of company sector in question are the utilities, energy, and material sector. This is benefit for business when reporting and working to reduce carbon emission. As a carbon strategy, save costs, achieve competitive advantage, public relations opportunities, recruit professional workers, access to finance and green capital, carbon accounting help to reduce carbon emission, leading to the ultimate goal of limiting carbon emission and stopping global warming. Okay, one of the hallmarks of a green economy is that it's low carbon. To create this, carbon credit are one solution. Carbon credit refer to tradable licenses that allow companies to emit equivalent amount of carbon dioxide or greenhouse gas. This permit allows them to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide or the equivalent amount of the different greenhouse gas. If companies use fewer credits, they can trade and sell their credit to others who need them. And how carbon credit works? Government or other organization limit the total amount of greenhouse gases produced. Companies and other entities that emit greenhouse gases are required to purchase carbon credit for every ton of emission they produce, and companies can also earn carbon credits by reducing the emission below the maximum threshold. Okay. Carbon credit can be traded or on the market, so companies can buy and sell them as need. What is happening in Riau, Kepri, Riau province can take advantage opportunities carbon marketing, carbon trading, I mean, that are beneficial for sustainable forest management and regional development, as well as the welfare of the people of Riau. Kepri, Riau province, Riau Island and West Sumatra have great potential in supporting reduced emission from the forestry sector. This region has 77 forest utilization business licenses units, most of which already have sustainable forest management certificates. Therefore, implementing sustainable forest management will have a real impact on emission reduction action, coupled with the large area of the pit hydrological area in Riau province. Okay, next, benefit of carbon credit. First, emission replacement. Second, create a market to reduce emission. Third, encourage innovation. Last but about carbon offset. Corporation, non-profit organization, and government entities with net zero emission target to eliminate greenhouse gases will need to contract with organizations with more efficient carbon sequences, processes, and technologies to purchase greenhouse gas in the quantities extract. This kind of product is known as carbon offset. The differences between carbon credit and carbon offset. Main difference between carbon credit and carbon offset lies in the carbon credit as the right to emit carbon. In contrast, carbon offset represents the production of a sustainable amount of energy to offset the use of fossil fuels. Some of these things are how we contribute to the green economy, as we have discussed in the form of a circular economy, investment and sustainable finance, carbon credit and carbon offset, and many others. There are several successful factors supporting the achievement of a green economy towards sustainable development, namely government, business entities, both from internal awareness and imitating other companies that have implemented a green economy. In the research I have done, this is known as an institutional pressure from the point of view of institutional theory, namely is the form of coercive, mimetic, and normative pressure. Coercive pressure, for example, is pressure from the government by increasing higher environmental regulation, which can force companies to allocate environmental costs as part of the cost that companies must pay attention to. And further, to pay attention to environmental performance. Mimetic pressure can come from pressure that is imitative of other companies, including from the implementation of an environmental system in industrial companies with a high profile in environmental concern. Last, normative pressure can come from within the economy with the growth of the company's internal awareness to pay attention to the environment. This pressure will encourage companies to implement environmental practice in their business activity and incorporate environmental strategies into corporate strategy. Okay, conclusion. Of course, it is our collective hope, industry, and even we as individuals care more about the environmental because we carry out the noble task of Allah as Caliph on earth to take care of the preserved nature. We take advantage of nature but still maintain its sustainability. As Allah's instruction forbid us from doing all form of damage to the earth because protecting the environment is the same as protecting the offspring of living things on earth. Okay, thank you and feel free to discuss. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Applause we give to Dr. Lulu Muhaimatul Ifada. Thank you very much for very insightful presentations today. As a moderator, I have the executive right to ask questions or at least to give a comment to you first. So I'm going to use my right to give a comment for your presentation. First, what I want to comment here is about what happened currently in Jakarta, where everybody talk about the quality of the air is getting worse. But the very interesting is, what to be blamed is for a vehicle that, because we talk about the EV currently as a becoming alternative. But the fact that if we have an EV in our households mean that we need to charge our car or charge the battery with the electricity. And the electricity is come from coal. And this is the reality that we face. So is it not kind of the paradox here that we talk about environmental awareness, but the fact that we use EV actually is damage the environments more since we use the electricity from the coal? This is the first paradox that I want to raise here. Second paradox that I want to share with you, that when we talk about the electricity, especially renewable energy, the fact that based on research in US, 2030 is the time where all the the products that has been used for a couple of years, and we know that the solar panels, the maximums we can use for 30 years. So it's mean that by 2030, that all of this waste is going somewhere. And based on research, it's 3 times more dangerous than the nuclear waste. So is it not kind of paradox here when you talk about environmental awareness? Do we really care about environment? And then whether this renewable energy actually is green energy or really dark green energy. And third, that I want to share with you, is anybody watch the this documentary? It's called Ugly Truth, if I'm not mistaken. It's talk about this documentary actually criticized the green economy. What we call it as a green economy, is it not really dark green, dark side of the green economy? So I would say it's the dark green of economy. So that's just what I want to comment on your presentation today. Please I wait the answer from you. It's going to be followed by the other, I believe that this participant will also ask the questions later, but maybe you can start with my comment first. Thank you very much. Dr. Lulu?
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, the phenomenon about what we call it, the burning of fossil fuels is what we call the main idea. The burning of fossil fuels is the main cause of climate change, which is already having a devastating impact on the planet. Burning fossil fuels also release pollutants into the air, which can cause respiratory and other health problems. So that's my presentation about some city like Copenhagen. In Copenhagen, we have the Copenhagen superhighway. It's the awareness of environmental because we can go to another what we call to another cities outskirts. We use maybe walking or cycle, and it's helping to reduce traffic jams and air pollution. In the master city, use electricity generation like your said before. It maybe use another make another pollution, but the first thing if we lower the fossil fuels, the burning of because the burning of fossil fuels is the main cause of climate change, and we must go to the green strategy and awareness to the environmental. I think that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your explanation. Okay, now I'm gonna give to the floor. If is there any question or any comment from this from participant here? Please, please, please introduce yourself and then the questions to our speakers.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Rezika from Management Study Program, Faculty of Maritime, Economics and Business, Raja Ali Haji Maritime University. So I would like to ask, which sector or industry has the highest green growth potential in Indonesia, and what steps should be taken to optimize this potential? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Lulu, I think you can answer straight away. Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay, so sorry. The industry makes high pollution is of course with the production maybe, and must be have a way to increase air pollution and the water pollution and so on. And how to make this clearly. So I call the pressure from government and from the other industry is what we got in one industry maybe if they have strategies, environmental strategies, and the last is from the side of have a green strategies. I think okay. In Indonesia, so many sectors that contribute this pollution, and it's our together must be have awareness to green strategies and environmental. I think that is.
Okay, thank you very much. So I invite more, if any more questions from our floor. Okay, the guy in blue there, you can, like ask your question and introduce yourself, please.
Tes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alfred Sari and I'm a student, and I want to talk about environment in Jakarta. Jakarta have a major problem such as the air pollution that caused by the electric steam power plant transportation. Government attempt to induce artificial rain, but this only solve the problem temporarily. And there is a concern that Jakarta will drown because by the melting ice. The melting ice caused by the sea level rising are caused by the melting ice. And this is a serious talk all about media. And the government built a wall to prevent the water to enter the land, but it doesn't seem to be working. And my question is, what are your thoughts about this problem, and what should the people and government do to fix this problem? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So you can answer straight away.
Okay, thank you very much. Jakarta, one of the city of Indonesia, have a worse air pollution. So many pollution, and what we must do is we all together for especially government must have a program to make Jakarta clean, like maybe use the what we call the low carbon if have a car and especially into industry, so reduce the pollution. Okay, I think it's our together can be care more about the environmental. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I also invite some more. I saw someone want to ask a question in the left over there. Okay, please introduce yourself and then stand up in the mics, please. Okay, please introduce yourself.
Well, good morning everyone. Before let me introduce myself. My name is Suci Rahmadani from the Management Department, Faculty of Maritime, Economics and Business, Raja Ali Haji Maritime University. This is my question. Pollution caused by industry, which increased from year to year, has become a trending topic for environmental observed in Indonesia and developing countries. The main cause the influences by the lack of the sensitivity of company and humans towards environmental sustainability. So, from this case, please give me a concrete example. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Do you get a point?
Yeah. Okay, for the concrete example, once of Rio, or what we call it, have polluted so many, and the government, what we call the permit of this the pollution in the land, air, and sea to human activity, human action, or industrial companies. So many makes pollutant. I think is the phenomenon pollution with industry or human action. So many, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Can I invite one or two more questions from our participant here? Anybody wants to ask question or give any comment on Dr. Lulu presentations today? Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lulu. Please join me, so like to give applause to Dr. Lulu here, please. Thank you very much for your very insightful presentations today. This is a very, enlightening for our conference today. And if I may sum up here from Dr. Lulu's presentation, that we look at this so many problems here. She tried to cover so many problems from the issue of environment and social and economy, green economy, but also we look at here the paradox on the green economy, and then we try to discuss about it in deep conversation. And I'm really delightful on this presentation today. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. So, and next, are we going forward for the next presentation for the next speakers? Okay. So, shall we take a break? Shall we take a break for a couple of minutes? Okay, there's Thank you very much for all of you guys, and applause for all of us. I'm going to take a break for about 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you.
Halo semuanya, selamat datang di Universitas Haji. Aku Alfredo Salim dari Pendidikan Bahasa dan Sastra Indonesia 2019.
Aku Yunita Adinda dari Pendidikan Bahasa dan Sastra Indonesia tahun 2017.
Kali ini kami akan mengajak kalian semua untuk berkeliling di Universitas Maritime Raja Ali Haji, Kota Tanjung Pinang, Provinsi Kepulauan Riau.
Sejak 2018, kampus kebanggaan masyarakat Kepri ini sudah terakreditasi B dari Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi.
Nah, nama Raja Ali Haji sendiri diambil dari tokoh pahlawan nasional yang berasal dari Provinsi Kepulauan Riau, tepatnya di Pulau Penyengat. Hal ini akan membangun jiwa kalian dalam sivitas akademika Universitas Maritime Raja Ali Haji dalam bidang kebudayaan. Dari sagu dibuat lakse,
Ikan tenggiri dibuat kuah.
marilah jangan berlama-lama.
Mari segera jelajahi umrah.
Umrah memiliki 5 fakultas dengan 20 program studi sarjana dan 2 program pasca sarjana. Nah, bagi kawan-kawan yang tertarik berkarya di bidang digital, elektronika, robotik, dan energi terbarukan di Fakultas Teknik yang terletak di kampus Senggarang ada yang cocok nih, seperti program studi Teknik Informatika, kemudian program studi Teknik Elektro. Kedua prodi tersebut sudah terakreditasi B. Umrah juga punya prodi unggulan, yaitu Teknik Perkapalan yang prospek lulusannya sangat luas di Indonesia. Salah satu fakultas unggulan adalah Fakultas Ilmu Kelautan dan Perikanan. Di fakultas ini ada 5 jurusan yang prospek lulusannya sangat luas bagi kawan-kawan yang ingin berkarya di bidang kelautan dan perikanan. Pertama, Ilmu Kelautan, kemudian Manajemen Sumber Daya Perairan, Budidaya Perairan, Teknologi Hasil Perikanan, dan Sosial Ekonomi Perikanan. Semua prodi di fakultas ini sudah terakreditasi B loh.
Berikutnya, ada Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan dengan 5 program studi yang sesuai dengan passion kawan-kawan yang ingin berkarya di bidang pendidikan. Program studi tersebut seperti Pendidikan Bahasa dan Sastra Indonesia,
Nah, ini tadi merupakan suatu penampilan teater tentang Malih Kundang
Dari Prodi Bahasa dan Sastra Indonesia.
Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris, Pendidikan Matematika, Pendidikan Kimia, dan Pendidikan Biologi. Sebagai Universitas Maritim, konten kemaritiman sudah terintegrasi dalam kurikulum tiap prodi. Oh ya, Semua prodi di FKIT sudah terakreditasi B loh. Menarik bukan? Nah, bagi kawan-kawan yang hendak terjun di bidang bisnis dan manajemen keuangan, Umrah memiliki fakultas ekonomi dengan 2 program studi seperti program studi akuntansi, lalu program studi manajemen. Pengetahuan tentang bisnis maritim juga nanti dipelajari di sini.
Fakultas yang terakhir adalah Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik Umrah yang berlokasi di Dompa. Fakultas ini memiliki 5 program studi seperti ilmu pemerintahan, ilmu administrasi publik, sosiologi. Bagi kawan-kawan yang passionnya di bidang hukum, FISIP Umrah juga memiliki program studi ilmu hukum. Nah, bagi yang ingin berkarir di bidang diplomasi internasional prodi hubungan internasional, mesti jadi pilihan. Umrah juga memiliki program S2 atau Pasca Sarjana. Ada 2 program Pasca Sarjana yang dimiliki Umrah saat ini. Pertama, program studi Magister Ilmu Lingkungan di FIKP, kemudian Magister Administrasi Publik di FISIP Umrah. Tidak hanya melulu soal akademis saja, Umrah juga memiliki unit-unit kegiatan mahasiswa yang dapat menjadi sarana pengembangan minat dan bakat para mahasiswa. Berbagai prestasi juga sudah banyak dicapai oleh UKM Umrah, bahkan sampai tingkat internasional. Jadi jangan ragu untuk memilih UKM yang sesuai dengan minat dan bakat kawan-kawan ya.
Kolaborasi dan kerjasama menjadi hal yang mutlak saat ini. Universitas Maritime Raja Ali Haji telah menjalin berbagai kerjasama baik lokal, regional, hingga internasional untuk mengembangkan universitas melalui program Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Muhammad Izwan, jurusan Manajemen Sumber Daya Perairan, Fakultas Ilmu Kelautan dan Perikanan Umrah, angkatan 2010. Saat ini saya bekerja di Conservation International Indonesia sebagai Erasmus Branch Tourism Specialist. Fokus saya di penelitian Parimanta.
Halo, saya Tia dari Papua, jurusan Pendidikan Biologi. Halo, saya Leonie dari Papua, jurusan Pendidikan Biologi. Saya bangga menjadi mahasiswa Universitas Maritime Raja Ali Haji.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Universitas Maritime Raja Ali Haji adalah universitas dengan visi menjadi Center of Excellence atau pusat cemerlangan dalam pendidikan tinggi, riset, marit socio-entrepreneurship, dan tamadu maritim di ASEAN. Berlayar kapal ke Selat Gelam, nahkoda tangguh menghala arah. Bahtera kami, bahtera gurindam. Ayo berlayar bersama Umrah. Salam maritim.
Ayo memilih apa yang kau suka. Merdeka belajar wujud yang nyata. Raih mimpimu juga cita-cita. Generasi generasi emas Indonesia. Profil pelajar Pancasila tanamkan di dalam dada. Profil pelajar Pancasila cerdas berkarakter itu kita. Beriman dan bertakwa pada Tuhan yang Maha Esa. Berakhlak mulia berkebinekaan global kita. Gotong royong berjiwa mandiri, berpikir kreatif dan bernalar kritis. Perbedaan bukan suatu halangan untuk kita saling bergandeng tangan. Bineka Tunggal Ika semboyan negeri kita yang harus kita jaga bersama. Profil pelajar Pancasila tanamkan di dalam dada. Profil pelajar Pancasila cerdas berkarakter itu kita. Beriman dan bertakwa pada Tuhan yang Maha Esa. Berakhlak mulia berkebinekaan global kita. Gotong royong berjiwa mandiri, berpikir kreatif dan bernalar kritis. Profil pelajar Pancasila. Profil pelajar Pancasila.
Good morning, everybody. So, I hope you enjoy your breaks with a little bit snacks and drink. Okay, I really hope you enjoy the breaks. Now we are gonna continue again for our conference today. Today we have Professor Kabir Hassan with us. He's gonna give a presentation on the green economy. So before we start with Dr. Kabir, which is I got his CV here. It's a very impressive and it's very long CV. Professor Kabir Hassan is a professor from the University of New Orleans. So, okay, Professor Kabir, we have started our discussion today by talking about the green economy, paradox of green economy, where whether this green economy is really green, because we look at the dark side of the green economies as well, where the materials, for example, for solar panels come from the nickel, which is the mining. It's been the mining sectors that can be damaged for the environment as well. So today we are gonna discuss about these topics deeply. So I invite Professor Dr. Kabir Hassan to give a presentation this morning. So Dr. Kabir Hassan, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
New Orleans, Louisiana. This is one of the Central Standard Time Zone. It's 10:08 now. So it's very late here, or probably early morning. Well, almost 10 o'clock in Jakarta time. So I have a prepared presentation just to keep my chain of thought in line. So I'm going to follow my presentation very closely. So those who can't hear me, you can also look at my slides simultaneously. So when you talk about the green economy, there are multiple dimensions to it. So I have a very long agenda of presentation, what you mean by green economy, green growth, or what are the steps towards a green economy, why you need it. And towards the end, I also am going to talk about how it connects with Islamic finance and also what are some of the research agenda the young researcher can follow. So a definition, a green economy whose growth in income and employment is driven by public and private investments that reduce carbon emissions and pollution, enhance energy and resource efficiency, and prevent loss of biodiversity and ecosystem services. And this is achieved through targeted public expenditure, policy reforms, and regulation changes. The concept of green economy emphasizes on the intersection between environment and the economy. And the green economy is essentially an inclusive concept comprising economic, social, and the environmental pillars of growth. Its goal is shared prosperity with societal resilience against future shocks and surprises. It aims at well-being, measured not merely on happiness index, but in the context of pursuing and achieving the development goals. It promotes equity for diversified, sustainable development. Now, a green economy aims to improve the environment for the sake of human well-being. And investing in environmental assets will help us meet poverty goals, reduce hunger and disease, and reduce the incidence of death from pollution. To drive sustainability and growth in parallel, integrate use of natural and physical capital. And the green growth global investment requirements of capital and O&M cost about $311 billion through 2050. The sector must not only attract more funding, but must reduce inefficiencies to make better use of the limited financial resources available. So there are 5 principles of green economy. First one is the justice principle, inclusive and non-discriminatory, equitable distribution of opportunity of an outcome, long-term perspective, based on solidarity and social justice, empowerment of medium and small enterprises, fast and fair transition and cover its cost. 2. The vision, a fair green economic future. It should be people-oriented. It focuses on growing wealth. It is built on collective action for public goods, and it also offers opportunities for clean and decent livelihoods. Number 3, the planetary boundaries principle, limited substitutability of natural capital. It recognizes and nurtures nature's diverse value. It invests in protecting, growing, and restoring biodiversity, soil, water, and air. Number 4, the efficiency sufficiency principle. An inclusive green economy is low carbon, resource conserving, diverse, and circular. It recognizes social flow of basic goods and services. It aligns prices, subsidies, and incentives with true cost to society. The good governance principle, finally, an inclusive green economy is evidence-based. It is supported by institutions that are integrated, collaborative, and coherent, and it builds a financial system with the purpose of delivering well-being and sustainability. Now, the role of financial system in transition to green economy. Number 1, carbon pricing and credit and green bonds. Number 2, greening central bank policy. Number 3, promotion of green technologies, green financial technologies towards 100% renewable energy. Number 4, climate risk insurance schemes. And number 5, effective transition and international cooperation among financial institutions. So the green growth represents an iterative process leading towards a green economy. If you look at this picture, you have the green gas emissions, you have the climate adaptation mitigation, you have the low carbon growth, economic growth, equitable growth, social development, poverty reduction, strong communities and habitats, biodiversity and ecosystem goods and services, value of natural capital, and ecosystem resilience. And all of this confluences in green growth, and you have to coordinate of all of these factors into a comprehensive framework. Now, the green finance flows reached a record high of 612 billion in 2017. Current investment in green finance falls significantly short of the estimated annual investment. Estimates of the investment required to achieve green economy transition range from 1.6 trillion to 3.8 trillion dollar annually between 2016 and 2050. Annual investment must increase many times over and rapidly to achieve globally agreed green economy goals and initiate truly systemic transition across global, regional, and national economies. Financial sector policies almost never take green financing into account. Instead, it is promoted mainly through environmental policies as well as schemes devised by multilateral actors. The majority of green finance is provided by international public and private financial institutions. Local private financial institutions contribute green financing only to a minor extent. Now, challenges of green financing is short-term policy agenda. Countries use short-term tools such as fiscal incentives and feed-in tariffs, and it lacks of long-term approach in energy policies. Number 2, limited market liberalization. Policies contain significant inconsistencies across borders. Many countries have liberalized this market, but has not supported fair competition through appropriate antitrust regulations. Number 3, lack of domestic financing. Investments in large-scale renewable energy are driven by international finance and development institutions. Domestic legal, structural, and economic frameworks are often too weak to allow the emergence of domestically financed, market-based renewable energy development. Now, what is a way forward to green economy through green financing? Number 1, involve domestic financial institutions through concessional credit lines. The concessional credit line for renewable energy to domestic financial institutions. It encourages commercial banks to develop green credit lines. Number 2, helping financial institutions to learn on the job. It encourages commercial banks to develop green credit lines, provide viability of renewable energy finance. And number 3, enforcement of contracts of the private sector actors. It issues guidelines to enforcement of contracts with private sector firms and withdrawal of generation license if requirements are not met. So let's look at a few specific examples for green financing or green economy, land management. It refers to practices and technologies that aim to integrate the management of land, water, biodiversity, and other environmental resources to meet human needs while ensuring the long-term sustainability of ecosystem services and livelihood. Number two, green transportation. It refers to improved, sustainable, and clean transportation facilities. Short-term activity often promotes incremental improvement in fuel efficiency and vehicle emissions controls, while long-term goals include migrating transportation from fossil-based energy to other alternatives such as renewable energy and use of other renewable resources. Green buildings. Green building refers to both the structure and application of processes that are environmentally responsible and resource efficient throughout a building's life cycle. From planning to design, construction, operation, maintenance, renovation, and demolition. Renewable energy. Renewable energy and energy that is collected from renewable resources which are naturally replenished on a human time scale such as sunlight, wind, rain, tides, waves, and geothermal heat. More efficient and cleaner energy production. The use of solar power, wind power, rain, tides, and waves power, and geothermal heat to produce energy is a more efficient and cleaner way of producing energy. Recycle, reuse, and reduce. That is the philosophy of circular economy. 3R principle helps us towards sustainable living, making people think about the impact of their consumption and production of waste. It helps to encourage us to make lifestyle decisions to reduce the waste we create and reduce the impact on the environment. Water management. Water resource management is the activity of planning, developing, distributing, and managing the optimum use of water resources. The field of water resources management will have to continue to adapt to the current and future issues facing the allocation of water. Now, waste management. For effective waste management, waste minimization, reuse, recycle, energy recovery are more sustainable than conventional landfill or dump site disposable technique. So, need of a green economy, the confluence of the global economic crisis, ecological crisis, or climate crisis that we're facing in the West and everywhere, and the second wave of urbanization in cities makes them important spaces for unfolding transitions. Exhaustion of resources in the near future triggers rise in the cost of resources, examples being oil, staple food, onion, etc. This will affect the global economic growth profoundly. The global economy's production and consumption are dependent on the urban infrastructures of cities, energy, water, sanitation, solid waste, mobility, food. The urban infrastructure must be planned and configured with a sustainable resource use approach. Now, the means to achieve a green economy, taking urban sprawl and implementing land use regulations to promote redevelopment of city areas over greenfield sites, taking and regulating population density for a city-wide sustainability program, and providing improved planning powers and resources to the development corporations. The strict vehicle and traffic laws, maximum parking standards, discouraging use of private motor vehicles, encouraging concepts like carpooling, bus rapid transport system, cable car, etc. And those who live in Jakarta, you know what I'm talking about. Now, the multiple crises that we face. United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that about 815 million people of the 7.6 billion people in the world, or almost 11%, were suffering from economic undernourishment in 2016. From 2018 and 2019, the number of undernourished people grew by 10 million. There are nearly 60 million more undernourished people now than in 2014. Financial and economic crisis threatening jobs worldwide and poverty reduction gains, decline in trade, investment and overseas remittances, climate crisis exacerbating the other crisis, and slow growth. Every 1% fall in growth in developing countries translates into an additional 20 million people in poverty. So if you see multiple cities, global unemployment rate, 200 million jobs lost between 2007 and 9. Low growth, as I said, every 1% fall in growth in developing countries translates to an additional 20 million people in poverty. According to the latest edition of ILO Monitor, 114 million jobs are lost in 2020 alone, and the numbers could be more or less right now. I do not have the most recent data. Now, the discounting natural capital, humanity as a whole is currently using nature 1.6 times faster than our planet's ecosystems can generate. So we are overstressing our planetary system for growth. Global economic growth in past 50 years accompanied by accelerated environmental decline. From 1981 to 2005, global GDP more than doubled, but 60% of the world's ecosystem degraded or exploited unsustainably. Since the 1970s, humanity has been in ecological overshoot, with annual demand on resources exceeding Earth's biocapacity. Now, what is the role of financial sector in driving the global transformation? The financing required for green economy transition investment, not incremental cost, is substantial. By 2020, according to World Economic Forum, about 5.7 trillion USD will need to be invested annually in green infrastructure, much of which will be in the developing world. This will require shifting the world's $5 trillion in business as usual investment into green investments. The financial sector's mandate is to manage risk, allocate capital, mobilize savings, and as financial intermediary. Now, the environmental issues are largely overlooked when financial institutions are undergoing health checkups. For example, the stress test on a bank's loan book or the value at risk in an investment portfolio are not subject to consideration of carbon exposure. The exposure to climate risk varies depending on the financial institution position, the financial value chain, and the investment instruments used. In case of decreasing revenues and profitability of companies, such as, for example, due to carbon regulation, the cash flows are usually still high enough to cover senior debt service and to avoid default with commercial banks. In the public sector, intervention is required to make ground investment unprofitable and consequently reduce profitability for investors with such assets in the short term. If liquidity requirements remain as they are at present, asset owners need to play a more dominant direct role in long-term infrastructure finance. So, if you look at the financial institution's function, institution, banks, financial services providers, investment management services, what are the functions they can provide for the real economy? Mobilization of savings, allocation of capital, transformation of risk, tenor, and information at lowest possible cost. If you look at exchange, creation of liquidity also for long-term assets, reduction of transaction costs, finally insurance, companies and pension funds, it allocates resources, it allocates risk, efficient capital allocation driven by portfolio effects, and finally, developmental financial institution and international financial institution, they must address market failures, and we have to look at the double bottom line. So the financial sector acts in the existing financial ecosystem which is framed by financial regulation, shareholder expectations, and further rules of games like voluntary standards. The financial sector acts in the existing financial ecosystem, which is framed by financial regulation, shareholder expectation, and further rules of the games like voluntary standards. Now, if you look at the financial instrument regulation and potential for green intervention, so if you give some example, large exposure restrictions, and what are the instruments regulation? You have to have restriction in place. What is the potential green intervention? Exposure restriction for brown investments. Capital requirement, asset liability management, liquidity requirement, there has to be a minimum requirements there. The minimum investment must be done in green investment. License requirements, governance requirements, minimum requirements for management, stress testing. There has to be a supervisory review, ESG, know-how of management, and there has to be carbon stress testing of their portfolio of investment. Procedures, know your customer, anti-money laundering, due diligence requirements, advisory duties, and we have to follow ESG standards, mandatory ESG advice to customers, and finally transparency, financial disclosure, reporting requirements, mandatory carbon accounting, and true cost approaches. We recently published a paper connecting with the green economy, circular economy, sustainable development, and Islamic finance. Now, the linear economic model, as we mentioned 3R previously, which entails a process of extract, produce, consume waste, is one of the major social economic drivers that is greatly reducing the stability of the Earth's systems. Adverse impact on human livelihood and the global environment. Now, instituting a circular economic model is of the utmost importance in order to successfully face this challenge and rescue the Earth's climate from the damage of the linear paradigm. And the circular economic model utilizes public-private sector partnerships to introduce a closed-loop approach to production and consumption, use of environment-friendly materials, sustainable product designs, efficient industrial processes, and effective waste management systems. So if you look at this figure, unlike the linear economy, the circular economic model uses a closed-loop cycle of production and manufacturing that facilitates significant waste production through effective recycling and refurbishing of materials. So on the left-hand side, in a linear economy, say we extract, we produce, consume, and dispose and pollute. But in a circular economy, you produce, consume, you reuse, you reproduce, recycle, and the loop continues. So the tremendous potential of a circular economic model from the financial valuation perspective, stability and sustainable future cash flows and lower cost of capital, it leads to sustainable economic process through sharing of information. The circular economic models are considered as risky projects by investors because of lack of data and evidence of success. Contribution of large firms that benefited from circular business models, lack of historical data, accompanied with higher level of uncertainty, cause circular business models to exhibit a much higher cost of capital, the risk premium, as compared to the conventional counterpart. Despite having this high risk premium, circular economic models are still feasible because of their intangible benefits. And what are those? Sustainable process, collaborative efforts, and cultivating relationships among stakeholders will generate those intangible benefits, and this is what we call embedded real option. So when we talk about the sustainable development goal, we have the dignity, we have the equity, we have the justice, we have the partnership. So circular economy is designed to be more sustainable and ecology friendly in comparison to the traditional linear economic model. Minimization of use of raw materials and the discharge of emission waste into the environment, maximization of efficiency and value addition in the production process. Due to its enormous scope, potential, circular economy has gained significant research attention in recent years. So how does Islamic finance comes into sustainable development goal and circular economy and green financing? The foundation of Islam is based on the principle of sustainable use of livelihood and resources. It is efficient use of resources, minimal discharge of harmful objects into nature, effective waste management in order to minimize residual loss. And SDGs are supported by Islamic finance through innovative product design. Islamic bonds called Green Sukuk promote eco-friendly investment and financing. And by the way, Indonesia happens to be the first in line to introduce the Green Sukuk. Islamic endowment funds such as Waqf provide environment-friendly financing to small and medium enterprises, and also we should take use of the fintech technology. Islamic financial instruments have great potential to promote sustainable economic growth, alleviate poverty, strengthen livelihood strategies, improve basic services, and create more employment and business opportunities. Now, Islamic finance has been emerged and developed extensively over the last few decades. However, the challenge of strategic sustainability is still there, for which operational paradigm needs to be reviewed and re-engineered for Islamic finance. Climate change issues, environmental and ecological degradation being considered as a byproduct of the existing linear prototype of the world economy. Islamic financial institutions will have to lead in terms of design and development of sustainable and climate-friendly products and services, even that are directed by the Sharia principle and the teaching and instruction of the Quran and Holy Prophet. Although the current linear approach, extract, produce, consume waste of dealing with planet's resources is a dominant economic archetype, laws of ecology, such as the wider cycle, demonstrate that nature does not ever dissipate. Islamic finance will have to come up with effective solutions such as designing environmental friendly products and services by reducing waste and ensuring recycling, allocating greater amount of resources and funds for environmental and habitation restoration, yet ensuring profit for the fund providers. Now, the scope of circular economic model from the Islamic perspective, the concepts of mizan, complete balance, miqdar, ratio/proportion, and khilafa, stewardship in relationship to available resources and overall balance of the ecosystem. Peak of environmental science and management must be taught and must be exercised. Islamic ethics and ecological challenge and climate change issues must be discussed, researched. Understanding waste, israf, and tabjir from both the traditional and contemporary viewpoint must be analyzed and discussed. Now, scope of circular economy and the blended finance in the Islamic financial system. Now, we have the development finance with the philanthropic funds to mobilize private funds for sustainable development. The Islamic blended finance may be defined as an optimal combination of Islamic social funds like zakat, waqf, and sadaqah, and penalties from misconduct with financial products to achieve SDGs, safety net, skills training, and venture capital to the struggling entrepreneurs. It alleviates fund diversion to barren activities and high default risk, offering Islamic microfinance service to draw private capital. Now, the implementation of blended finance in Islamic financial system would put the Islamic financial institution a big step ahead towards the achievement of their social as well as environmental obligations and supporting green economy. The major purpose of Islamic blended finance is to strengthen the intrinsic characteristics of Islamic finance as well as to discover commercial feasible markets, refinancing the poorest entrepreneurs and amending the risk return control and amplifying development resources for sustainable development goals. Now, Islamic banking and finance is more feasible choice to promote and finance sustainable circular economic models, and Islamic financial institutions are less vulnerable towards idiosyncratic exogenous shocks as proven during the time of economic crisis. There are a number of empirical work done in this area. Ideology of risk sharing ensures positive sum gains. Being one of the most rapidly growing industries in the financial world, especially in non-Muslim countries, Islamic financial industry is equipped with strong asset base and distinctive product schemes to help implement the SDGs as well as transition to the circular business models. Now, Sharia-compliant financial solution will also facilitate enormous opportunities for the implementation of circular economy. Significant alliance of Islamic finance with the sustainable concept of circular economy. Specialized product offered in Islamic finance will facilitate a successful transition from linear to circular economic model. As I mentioned before, Green Sukuk. Green Sukuk is a dedicated Islamic product for financing sustainable climate resilient business projects, Sharia-based mutual fund, ethical and climate-friendly investment, and Islamic bond financing. Distinctive advantages of Green Sukuk as compared to its conventional counterpart: quick liquidation and transferability, reduction of exogenous risk through portfolio diversification, investment of process in climate resilient projects, and facilitating effective transition from linear to circular economy. And as I mentioned before, Green Sukuk is being used by a number of countries as a key financial solution towards implementation of sustainable and circular economic models. Exceptional nature of Green Sukuk makes it most appropriate in demanding Islamic financial product for the circular economy and as a byproduct for the green economy. A sustainable as well as low-cost financial solution to play a key role in implementing a number of circular, climate-friendly business models. Finally, last few slides, we have published a paper, looked at what has been done research-wise, and it was published a couple of years ago, called Green and Socially Responsible Finance, Past, Present, and the Future. So green and socially responsible finance refers to the financial investment flowing into sustainable development projects, initiatives, environmental projects, and policies that encourage the development of a more sustainable economy. And the green financial system to facilitate green transformation for the economy. Green and socially responsible finance is an alternative approach of financing long-term projects with more sustainable socio-economic goals, and it encompasses mainly financing greenfield projects, new projects, renewable energy, green banking, green bonds, and sukuk market, and the requirement of green policies, regulations, and governance structures. So it is a combination of three things. We need financing of green investment for sustainable projects, we need green financial system, and we need financing of green public projects. Now the green investment targets climate change adaptation, biodiversity protection, waste processing recycling, industrial pollution and greenhouse control, water sanitation, energy efficiency and renewable energy. And green investment targets mainly climate change adaptation, industrial pollution and CHG mitigation, waste processing, recycling, renewable energy, water sanitation, clean environment, and protection from biodiversity, and promote financing of other socio-ethical models of doing business. According to IEA 2014, 48 trillion required by 2035 for energy-related projects. Size of total green and sustainable investment reached 30.7 trillion, 34% growth from 2016 to 2019, according to Global Sustainable Investment Alliance. Total sustainable debt instrument issuance reached 255 billion, 51% growth from 2018-2019, S&P Global 2021. From 1981 to 2019, as a result, the researchers are getting interested, has developed. If you look at, this is the growth of scholarly research that has been done in this area. In 1981, 0, and 2019, almost 33 research paper was published. Now, the main results, so it's an empirical bibliometric paper that we published, as I told you a few years ago. And I'm going to share this reference with the audience so that they can benefit from it. So there are identified future research questions. The first one, the overview of green finance, perception, and investor behavior. I just want to give one or two examples. What is a research question? How can social responsible behavior be marketed to stakeholders? Identify issues and suggest an effective approach. 2. What is the correlation between independence of the Sharia department or Sharia board and financial performance of Islamic financial institutions, such SRI in particular and CR in general? What are the risks and issues related to SRI, socially responsible investing in developing countries? Describe the role of green risk management and green governance in controlling or mitigating risks related to SRI. Number 4, what is the financial impact of investors' behavior and shareholder activism toward SRI, and what are the different paradigms of SRI in comparison to ESG? Number 5, what is the effect of religious views on SRI in the cost of debt? How religion influences financial performance by a CSR and SRI? Whether SRI portfolios in developing countries have higher returns to conventional portfolios, and whether SRI portfolio performance is badly affected by negative news releases. Number 7, what is the role of government policies in different countries to promote green finance? Number 8, how does the role of corporate governance impact CSR practices and ethical investment? Number 9, identify differences between CSR and green finance in emerging markets and developing countries. Number 10, why industrial decarbonization and implementation of policies in green finance are hard to debate over. Number 11, how green finance can evolve via innovative techniques and corporate practice. Number 12, what are the opinions on the credibility of sustainability rating agencies, perception, expectations of stakeholders about sustainability risk assessment? What is the difference between policies such as subsidy and carbon credit? What role governments play to protect ethical investors' rights worldwide? Number 14, whether green insurance control farms environmental risks and improve environmental governance functions. Conduct empirical research on green insurance and corporate behavior. And the second research structure is analysis, performance, models, and growth factors of green finance. Number 15, does CSR performance of acquired firm improve after taking over target firms with better CSR performance in developing countries? Number 16, how were shareholders of good CSR target firms rewarded by acquired firms? Number 17, discuss performance and performance persistence of SRI funds in developing countries. Number 18, what is the impact of size of SRI mutual funds on their performance scores? Number 19, what are the different strategic results of SRI funds in normal and boom conditions? Number 20, what are the different strategic results of SRI funds in the pre and post COVID-19 period? Number 21, what is the relationship between ethical leadership and financial performance? Number 22, need to perform an inter-regional or inter-country comparison of our SRI performance to better understand the issues. So there's number 3, the identification of the research questions. Number 23, pricing mechanism, socially responsible investment, and each of these questions can be a subject matter for a master's thesis or PhD thesis. Number 23, what are the differences in pricing between green bonds and conventional bonds before and after COVID-19? 24, what is the impact of altruistic preferences on bond prices? 25, how to enhance SRI information reduces cost of supply, disguised pricing strategies adopted by socially responsible countries with good institutional investors' reputation. 26. Suggest an empirical model that integrates credit guarantee strategy and tax return propulsion effect to reduce risk and increase the rate of return based on a theoretical model. 27. Examine how firms use SASB standards in reporting performance, which firms adopt the standard and how they react to the standard. 28. How SASB standards brought change inside companies. Do firms discuss the importance of sustainability issues and assign responsibility at the senior management and board level? 29. How to predict green bond premium using multiple regression analysis. 30. What are the effects of ESG rating selection on the relationship between financial and corporate social performance? So basically that is the end of my presentation. Green economy is the need of the hour, and it is very essential and helpful for present and the future generation. If we follow the parameters of green economy strictly, then we can enjoy better lifestyle and improve our living standards. Green growth in all fields leads to a green economy, which later leads to sustainable development, thus helping the overall growth and development of society and environment. In any event, financial sector and green economy objective cannot be seen as either or. Rather, the question is how to combine these two approaches to maximize its impact. Thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much to Professor Kabir Hassan for very insightful presentations today. He covers so many aspects of the green energy. So I believe that a lot of participants here is going to ask questions or give the comment to your presentation. But since I'm a moderator today, I have executive order. So I'm going to use my right first to ask a question to our keynote speakers here, Professor Kabir Hassan. So first question that I want to ask you, since the very beginning you mentioned about the environmental issues and the renewable energy, my question is this. Based on research in America, that 2030 is the time where the waste from the solar energy is come to the it's like the highest time when this is like well, whatsoever, we don't know. This is not whether the solar panels can be is it really can be renewable? That's just the basic question that I want to ask, because the fact that based on research that it can't be renewable. So whether this renewable energy really renewable, this is the question, and whether this green economy really green, because we see the dark side of the of the renewable energy itself, which is the material for renewable energy is come from the mining as well, like nickel from Indonesia, for example. We have 30% of world nickel reserve. So this is the paradox that I want to ask you first about the paradox of renewable energy. What do you think about this? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very interesting and important question you asked me. And recently, I understand Indonesian government has stopped exporting nickel, because when you extract nickel, that also degrades the environment. So whenever I talk about anything at the beginning of my presentation, any activity that you do, you have to have an ecosystem balance. Unfortunately, the nickel, you have 30%. The foreign countries can come to Indonesia. They can do the technological know-how. If you need to build this solar panel, they can do it with the Indonesian soil, but they don't want to do this. So they want to buy you cheap nickel, take it to their country, process it, and they sell this at a multiple price to you, at the process degrading this environment. So here, the developing countries have to really stand up. Unfortunately, in the corporate world and international geopolitical situation, many places we cannot play this role. Right now, let's take for the example of BRICS. Recently, it's ended. You know, there's the 5 countries, and they have not invited Indonesia. I'm not sure whether Indonesia was an applicant country, but it's a big 300 plus million people living there. It's a huge country. There's a lot of natural resources. Now, in the world, when we think about the world as a global citizenship, as a global country, a global village, we really need to look each other interests. Unfortunately, the West is not looking at each other interests. Moreover, since they have reached at the developmental stages, they are forcing the developing countries to follow all this, climate change, COP, and so on. Many cases, that becomes contradictory to the developmental perspective. But the minimum that we can do, we should keep the resources, the country where it is, take the technology there, develop it, using their man, machine, and so on, and import those to the countries that need it. But what they're doing exactly the opposite. They're extracting your rich minerals at a cheap water bottom price, and they process it and they're sending it back. In the process, they are degrading your environment. So it has to be from the governmental political decision. And your President Joko, I think, is taking some stand in international arena. I think appreciate this, especially the nickel that you mentioned. This word, I think there has been recently the government of Indonesia has put some sort of export restriction on nickels. I hope I answered your question partly. Another thing, the UK talk about the solar. Not all energy is applicable for all parts of the world. The solar energy is more applicable to the Middle East or the countries where there is 24-hour sunshine. The water energy would be places where the water is abundant. We talk about biothermal capacity where those natural resources are there. I was in Iceland. The Iceland has one of the largest, biothermal plant to generate electricity. So we cannot be everything in every country. We have to look at the simple trade theory, the theory of comparative advantage, where the advantage is there, relative and absolute. We should try to exploit that advantage for the benefit of the global citizen, global village, not individual country anymore. Climate change is not a single country issue anymore. It is a global issue. If something affects in Indonesia, its a byproduct affects other neighboring countries as well. So that will be my answer to your question, sir. I hope I did partially answer your question. Okay. I'm not a scientist, by the way.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me invite participants to ask questions to our keynote speaker, Professor Kabir Hassan. And is there anybody want to ask question or comment to Professor Kabir? Anybody from the right or from the left side, please? Anybody want to ask a question? Anybody? Okay. Since it's no question from the floors yet, so I'm gonna ask the second question to you, if you don't mind. This is related to the geopolitics, the change of geopolitics currently with the U.S., with the Ukraine and Russia's war. So my question is this: since we look at the change of the global politics, the geopolitics in the world today, and we see that investors not very confident to put their fund in the renewable energy for the long run, because they're afraid that it's gonna lead into something bigger, especially in Southeast Asia and Asia in general, because of the issue in South China Sea. What is your view regarding the environmental issues, green economy, and the possible conflict in South China Sea? Thank you.
You see, let me start with the Russia-Ukraine war. It was a U.S. instigated war, and the Russia and Ukraine was ready to solve it on their own. But the U.S. has a bigger geopolitical interest. Basically, the U.S. goal is to use Ukraine to punish China, to weaken it, so that it can get to weaken Russia, so they can get to China later on. Now, this has been a foreign policy in the United States, militarism, always. We need an economic diplomacy. Now, what is happening in South China Sea is very alarming, and U.S. also making the posture, wants to solve it militarily. China also has to look at the territorial integrity of the other countries. China cannot claim the entire South China Sea as their own. There are other countries impacted by it, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand. They also look after their own interest. Now, any part of the nature, if we do overexploit, is going to degrade, or the ecological balance that I mentioned is going to happen. Now, speaking about, we need to really stop the Russian and Ukraine war, because they are the major energy resources in the world, food suppliers, and it is affecting not only these countries, they are killing each other, people are industry assets and human blood are being shed, but it is also spilling over to other countries with higher food prices, higher energy prices. Now, the US, if it takes a sort of conservative posture, I think we can come to a conclusion. It's not only the US, we should not let US unipolar role play that they will call the shots. The other countries should really get together on their own. They should use the multilateral agency, United Nations, in order to solve this problem. Now, if we do solve this problem, and then China comes in, and we really need to sit down with China, diplomatic solution, rather than a military intervention by other countries, in order, US does have the ability, politically speaking, to influence the people of these countries, to engage some sort of activities that will ultimately not be interest of those countries. China is a big country, growing. By cooperating with China, it will be beneficial for each country. But the US posture in this country, foreign policy, what I'm saying, every day, it is trying to weaken China, they want to weaponize Taiwan, the Russian-Ukraine war is going to continue, and it is putting all sorts of, the restriction on the Chinese investment in China and Chinese exports and so on. So you'll be surprised, for last 30 years, China had an average growth rate of 9%. And of course, China's policy and Xi Jinping became third-time president, which is unprecedented. He changed the constitution, extremely autocratic role. He is also making the economy more centralized. So it was not like Deng Xiaoping, two-state economy where the private sector grows and there's a central control, political control. That philosophy has been changing, that is affecting the Chinese model. And at the same time, the US sanction is also having an impact on China. And China also is not behaving gentlemanly. They are stealing intellectual property rights, they are not contributing, they are not being transparent. So all those issues can be solved, I think, getting into the talking table, on the table, rather than with barrels of guns. This is what I'm afraid, whether US is posturing after Russia, they are going to take on China militarily. That is what I'm really afraid. And that's not going to be helpful to anybody who talk about sustainable development, global economy, green economy. It's not going to help any of us as a global citizen.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Habib. So now I would like to invite some from participants who want to ask the questions here. Maybe from the right, the lady in black there. Okay, please introduce yourself. Okay, we have one question from this beautiful lady in black here, and then the other questions maybe from the other. Okay, we start first. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Mr. Adri. Good evening, Mr. Prof. Kabir Hassan. I think it's almost 11 p.m. right there.
Yes.
We are sorry. Well, my name is Indah. And I'm interested with Islamic finance on your presentation. Islamic finance as a choice to promote circular economy, because my background is also finance. The question is, how can these benefits, for example, like sustainability, resource effectively, or risk mitigation, can be effectively communicated to various stakeholders? And also the phenomenon of Islamophobia. Do you think that this phenomenon with the hatred of Muslim can be obstacle to promote circular economy through Islamic finance? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, let me start with, thank you very much, sister, for your wonderful question. Let me start with the last part of your question. I think Islamophobia used to be a problem, but it is dying out slowly. What West thinks, they do not have anything against Islam as a religion. So you pray 5 times a day, you pray, you perform Umrah, you do fasting. They don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, you can practice that part of Islam very well even in the United States without any problem. But when Islam becomes a deen, a way of life, the West will fight with you to the teeth. So Islamic finance, they consider, used to be that this is outside the emblem of ibadah, the ritual. So initially they were against it, but they accept that they cannot fight against it because if they want to do business in Muslim countries, there's a high demand for it. But the sad part of this, the Western financial institutions have hijacked Islamic finance. The major player in the world are not Islamic financial institutions. They're Western financial institutions. They're using Islamic financial tools in order to do business. And I'm afraid because of this, the Islamic financial instruments are deviating from its true paradigmic version. Now, you talk about sustainable development goals, or we talk about more egalitarian society. Islamic commercial finance has gone up because it's easy, like banking, for example, or sukuk, for example, or for insurance, for example. But that is catering to a small segment of the society, the corporate world, but the majority are left out. If you are a college student and if you have an idea, if you go to your Islamic bank in Indonesia and ask for Islamic financial help, they're not going to do that because they are using the same mindset of conventional banking, 5 Cs, and they will look at that way. But at the same time, the way a bank has been created using a conventional banking framework, it is not capable of helping you that way. So what we need to do, we need to, from the Islamic commercial ecosystem, commercial side of the Islamic finance, we need to start more and more non-banking financial institutions. For example, venture capital, where you do mudaraba and musharaka type of financing technique. On the other hand, for the have-nots, you need to bring better use of Islamic social institutions like Waqf, Zakat. Zakat is a mandatory. And one of the underused tool that is there, financial tool in Islam, is called Qardul Hasan. And the Qardul Hasan should be used very widely. So if you can combine this Islamic social finance and Islamic commercial finance, we can achieve all the good things that we aspire and that has been said according to the Maqasid of Sharia. Now, yes, second part, question and answer to second part, yes, it can be done, but not through, I don't think that it is possible for a bank to achieve those lofty goals. Yes, I know they're trying to do some sort of value-based intermediation in Malaysia, but that is, yes, it is adding something, putting a pressure on the financial institutions, especially banks, to promote all these social or ESG goals. But a bank can go up to a certain level, because you have to understand, banks are using depositors' money. They have a fiduciary responsibility. So they cannot really take on a risk beyond a certain limit. It is conceptually and model perspective is impossible. So we really need to create more and more non-banking financial institutions. One example, I gave you venture capital. It could be mutual fund. It could be other types. And this is your job to think, to study, to research, come up with new institutions, new financial instruments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kabir. Can I ask some more questions from the floor? Is there any wants to give the comment or ask the questions? Okay, in that case, it's no question from the floor. So
I think there is one hand raised. There is Purva. There is, you want to ask a question?
Does anybody want to ask question?
There is, you can unmute yourself.
Anybody want to ask question? Please, can you stand up in the mics, please, if you want to by the mics, if you want to ask question. Anybody?
I think there is someone online wants to ask a question. There is, you want to ask a question?
Oh, someone's online. Can you check, please, if someone's online want to ask questions? Any questions from online? Okay, if please just you can ask your questions directly.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Kabir Hassan, thank you. I want to ask about.
Please introduce yourself first, please.
Okay. My name is Daris Purba. I am from STA Galileo Batam.
Okay.
Okay, my question is about green economy. The term green economy. Is this a positive economy or normative economy? Because we know that there is no green theory in pure economics theories. So I assume that this term green economy is normative. Or maybe there is new advance about this green economy become positive. So this is scientific. So we can apply this and make effective or efficient outcome of economics. So this is my question. Thank you.
Okay, it can be both normative and positive. You know the difference yourself, the normative, which is policy prescription, and it comes with the positive economics. So the green economy or the climate because climate risk has become a risk factor in pricing insurance in the United States. In many parts of the United States, the insurance companies are not selling insurance product to any home buyers who is very close to the coastal line, or selling insurance product to an area which is a historical record of fire. So when it happens, then you make this factor internalize your positive economic modeling. So that's the reason I said it can be both positive and normative. Now, of course, the externality is a very positive thing because we have been discussing this in economic theory, how you internalize these externalities. You probably heard about Ronald Coase theorem. You know, if the polluter, pollutes, he has to be punished or rectified either by imposing higher costs or through taxation, or he has to provide a subsidy to the non-polluters. So in that sense, you can make this thing as a positive economics, and at the same time, at the policy level, the government can impose those taxes. So my answer to your question would be both normative as well as positive economics.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kabir. I hope it's answered your questions from Dr. Kabir. Is there any other questions from online or from the participants who attend this conference here? Any more questions? Okay, since there's no questions from the floor and it's from the online participant, please, I want to ask all of the participants to give applause to Professor Kabir Hassan, who gave the very insightful presentation to us today and enrich our knowledge on the green economy. So I'm going to say thank you very much, Dr. Kabir, and we really hope that this conference can lead into something, maybe kind of the policy recommendation or anything very useful, very concrete about like how to influence those stakeholders and policymakers, whether in Indonesia or in the other part of the world. And we hope that for the better future for our generation and for our environment. So thank you very much. And as a moderator in this event, I'm gonna say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, please give applause for all keynote speakers and our moderator today. And we kindly ask for the moderator to get back to the seat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to present to you a song performance, Heal the World, and we kindly ask for all audiences to sing together.
Oke, cek. Oke. Teman-teman yang di sini mungkin tahu lagu Heal the World, mungkin oke. Boleh ikutan nyanyi bareng-bareng ya. Let's sing together, oke? Oke.
There is place in your heart, and I know that it is love. In this place, it was better than tomorrow. In enough for the living, make a little space, make a better place, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me. And the answer is there are people telling if you're good enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. If you want to know why it's love that kind of wants to love, it's true, it's only because of love giving. Time is so simple, this peace we cannot feel. Our dreams stop acting and so living. Daddy, feel the toys, loving upwards and growing. Make a better world, make a better fly so high, let us breathe, never die. In my heart, I feel you are all my brother. No war, no fear, together we are happy days. Singing nations to we could live together if you could enough for the living, make a little space for you and for me. To you, make it a better place for you and for me. And the answer if you got enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me.
Please give round of applause. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to present to you again a sound performance by Dean of Faculty of Maritime Economics and Business, Dr. Asmaul Husna. Please welcome.
Siapa yang mau duet?
segala-galanya. Sampai mungkin tuh saya keren. Siapa yang berani? Siapa yang berani? Jawab. Ayo belajar berani, belajar berani. Kalalah enggan embun meniti, manalah hijau daun-daun. Kalalah enggan engkau di sisiku, apa dayaku. Namun siapa tempatku mengadu, aku malu. Aku tak tidur walau terpejam mata ini. Ayo sama-sama. Rasa cinta yang ku rasakan hanyalah sekejap saja. Rasa cinta yang ku rasa dari hati hingga mata. Aku ingin bermata, apalah arti tenang. Jangan pernah meminta yang lebih dari segala-galanya. Jangan pernah meminta yang lebih dari segala-galanya. Thank you, thank you.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause. Well, this is the end of our session in this morning. In next session, we are going to have a parallel session at third floor of Aston Hotel in Gardenia 1, Gardenia 2, Gardenia 3, and Azalea Room. And we kindly ask for all audiences to take photo session. Maybe we kindly ask for Dr. Asmal Husna to go on the stage and maybe we can take a photo session. Baik, kami juga meminta untuk moderator kita pada hari ini untuk dapat juga berdiri di depan untuk kita akan mengambil photo session. Dan untuk seluruh mahasiswa dan para partisipan hari ini untuk juga dapat mengikuti foto bersama untuk dapat maju ke depan. Baik. Baik, boleh diatur untuk posisinya. Baik, teman-teman mahasiswa boleh langsung dapat mengambil posisinya. Teman-teman bisa mengisi yang di atas terlebih dahulu untuk tempatnya. Untuk yang laki-laki boleh mengambil posisi untuk duduk dan yang perempuan bisa naik ke atas. Baik, kita rapikan dulu posisi untuk fotonya. Yang di depan bisa duduk. Iya. Baik. Bagaimana? Sudah pas? Baik teman-teman, boleh siap. Kita gaya formal dulu ya. Boleh salam maritim? Baik. Gaya bebas ya? Siap. Baik, terima kasih atas perhatiannya dan teman-teman mahasiswa boleh kembali lagi ke tempat. Baik, kami minta juga untuk panitia MEBIC 2023 untuk juga dapat mengambil foto session. Baik, sudah boleh? Baik, kami informasikan kembali untuk seluruh panitia MEBIC 2023 untuk dapat mengambil foto session pada hari ini. Baik, sudah bisa kita mulai Bapak Ibu?